So that's similar here. In university settings?
They are, yes, mixed. They are professionals, depending on their field of activity. They are university also, coming from this, like, people in ADER. But in the government, they are mainly as a requirement in the management authorities of European programs. We don't have in ministries special departments for evaluation. Maybe in the Ministry of Education.
So in the Ministry of
I don't know,
Education?
maybe.
Maybe.
No, there is no such.
There's no such thing? Okay, well, in Israel, many of the ministries have an education, have an evaluation unit. But in many cases, there isn't a coordination between the findings of the evaluation and renewal of the policy. That is, that the findings might indicate something worth changing or continuing, and what actually makes the change is when there's an election and a new minister comes in. And then the new minister changes the policy, throws the evaluation out, and starts all over again. So that's basically what happens. Except in the social services, there's one ministry in the Social Security Administration that has a very, very progressive evaluation policy, and that is that every new project that starts as a pilot project has to have evaluation from the beginning to the end, which is 3 years, and then a follow-up after 2 years. And but it's a very limited, it's a very limited area. Okay, these are the degrees that most evaluators have. Most of them do not come from the field of evaluation. They have an MA or a PhD, but usually in a different field, like psychology or education or health. 30% of them have no formalized training in evaluation. They're just people with organizational learning background or management background, psychology background, who decided that they want to conduct evaluations. Okay, and many of them, myself included, learned the profession in the field. Now, I began doing evaluation in the 1980s, and I followed along a colleague, and we spent hours and hours and hours together, and she introduced me to the field. And then I went back and got a doctorate in it. But that's how I learned it, and that's how 60% of the people learn it. This is a very poor showing for Israel in evaluation training. At the present time, there is no university that gives an MA degree in evaluation. There used to be in Ben Gurion University and in Tel Aviv University, but they both stopped. Most people who study evaluation study it. Do you have a question? I'll be happy to answer.
He was asking if we have...
In Romania, we have only one university, the Academy of Economic Studies. They have a master.
They have a master's in evaluation.
We also have a master. We also have a master in evaluation. That is
Programs and projects.
Yep.
I can just
Actually, it's the only one specialized in evaluation of public policy.
It's very closely connected, and you'll see by the examples that my colleagues give that it's very closely connected to the work on the ground in the field. It's very sensitive to what's being evaluated. It serves as a vehicle for learning. It uses culture-sensitive, context-sensitive, participatory, and empowering evaluations. And the main thing that we really want to do in the association is develop evaluative thinking, or what's what's often referred to as a culture of evaluation. That's what's in the logo now. Okay, I'm going to give the floor to my colleagues now. Do you have any questions so far on what I've said? Yes.
I would like to know if you speak in Israel about the profession of about evaluators as a profession.
Funny you should ask that question. Okay.
Last week
We believe, because we have an association of evaluators, we have about 80 people in the association, we believe that it's a profession. However, when you ask those 80 people what their profession is, they don't say evaluator. They say all kinds of other things, but not evaluator. And we're planning now to have our conference in 2015, the International Year of Evaluation. We're planning to have a conference on the subject of professionalization and what can be done to promote professionalization. And we just had an executive committee meeting on that subject. And whether we should have credentials or not credentials, it's been an ongoing dialogue for a long, since we began. Because you want it to be open, you want to have the view of evaluation as an open, flexible, trustworthy profession. And then if you make credentials for it and you make people take tests for it, it loses that fluidity. So it's a good question. But whenever anybody asks me what I do, I say I'm an evaluator. And once, just to wake you all up, once when I was I was going to England from Israel, and the border guard asked me what my profession was. So I said, I'm an evaluator. And he said, what do you evaluate? And I said, passport guards. So anyway, that's, any other questions? Yes.
I just wanted to return to one of the things you have just mentioned. You study, if I understood correctly, that any project is accompanied by a requirement for an evaluation. That means that this is mandatory in Israel, and how does it actually take place?
Only,
What type of evaluation?
okay, it's only in that specific department, in that specific ministry. It's in the Social Security Ministry, where they have lots of programs and do all kinds of things, but they have one department that's called the Foundation for Special Projects. And people apply, if they have a special project in mind, they apply to that department and they get funding. And part of what they have to do in developing their program is they have to have evaluation from the beginning to the end.
But it is, but it doesn't influence policy. It is not connected with the policy of the Social Security Ministry. It's separate. They give funds to develop programs or projects that are connected with social change. But it's separate.
It's a small department, but it does, I mean, I would disagree, that it does influence policy. Because if the program is successful, then they will expand it and it will become part of, I did an evaluation of a program on self-advocacy with psychiatric youth, psychiatrically challenged youth. Okay, and this project taught them how to assert themselves in a nice way to exercise their rights. Okay, and the project for 3 years, I monitored the project and I gave feedback and we worked together on it. And then they used the course that was used in the project in the university where they taught social workers how to train people with psychiatric problems. So it worked its way through, not into a large policy, but it worked its way through into the system
But
because of the
I just-
evaluation.
I just want to add something. Sometimes, now I'm involved in evaluating another program that is, it's called Youth Bit, Rehabilitation of Tasuka, working
Of what work?
of work for youngsters, which means the age of 18 to 30. And what happens, there was few ministries are involved in it. So what happened now for the second stage, it went under the umbrella of the welfare ministry. They took upon this project. They are leading it. So it can influence other ministries or policies. So it's flexible, but it's not meant this part of the
What?
הביטוח הלאומי,
The National Security Institute.
National Security, it's not meant just for them.
No.
That's
No, it does, it's a small department in it, but
so
it's
this is the context. But they influence a lot of programs.
it's just that it's a really, really good example of using evaluation the way it should be used. That's why it's so small. Yes.
I would like to ask you how you are lobbying at the level of the government, the culture of evaluation, if you have only one small, let's say, official unit that is.
Okay, that's an,
Professional.
that's an excellent question. And
Interesting for us.
we worry about it because evaluators are not high on the priority list, either salary-wise or professional-wise. That is that for us to lobby, which is what we want to do. This was another issue that we discussed and in our executive meeting, that we would like to lobby. But when you contact somebody of any power, they're too busy to see you. It's very hard to lobby. It's very hard. If you have any ideas on how to do it, we'd be very, very happy to hear them.
Usually in Romania, as far as I am aware, the process of, at the level of program evaluation started to become more and more like a bureaucracy. We should check it. It's okay. Sometimes the requirements are saying that, okay, the results of the evaluation should be action in a plan, and that the next meeting of the board of the Ministry of Management Authority, we discuss how those measures were implemented, but tend to be like something not as a primary focus or target. In the last period of time, I think maybe it is a problem of understanding of the quality of the evaluation. What means this? Sometimes it is a misunderstanding because sometimes we are confused considering that evaluators are a kind of auditors. And it's another, let's say, step of they are coming to check us or to verify us, which is not the case, as you said. We are not checking them because it's not something.
Right. No, it's you really need some really good.
A brain or a person that is lobbying at the highest
Right.
level.
They're not the same people who are involved. The people who like to do evaluation are not particularly the same people who like to do marketing. And we have this dilemma all the time. How do we get there? How do we do more things? Why isn't anybody interested? It's problematic.
This doesn't mean that you have some other associations of evaluators in
No.
Israel? Why do you call
That's an excellent.
program evaluation?
There is an association for psychometric testing. That's a different assessment. It's more assessment.